Chronicles, episode 8, Back to My Roots. You ever carried a speaker box or a flight case full of amps yet? You ever carried trunk loads of speaker cables up flights of steps and then had to run the cables and connect to get your sound up and running? Then spend the night monitoring and engineering whilst DJing and hosting. Yet, members like to subscribe and stream or get wild because someone added their track to today's playlist on the streaming platform like Spotify. But the real satisfaction was the hands-on. You ever got in a carload full of vinyl that you had to distribute up and down the country of your product, where you were so tired, but the world awaits you to deliver? Instead of pressing some buttons in the digital world and letting some numbers depict who you are as an artist. I see so much of this on Facebook socials, along with algorithms designed to make people feel a type of way, to keep up with the Joneses, the want to be a reporter on a boxing match or today's current affairs, or what the weather's like in your area, or death-defying diseases that's going around the world and you want to report firsthand. Fake news to get validation from strangers or fake accounts continuing to share fabricated or fake news. But some believe in this and use these tools as a daily distraction from the real riches of life, i.e., your family. That's your true legacy. I too used social platforms and got caught up said way, posting private pictures of my grandchildren, for example, which I quickly realized in being the best pop-pops that I can be, which teaches me about real emotions and feelings that I can only describe as none of your business. And this is an epidemic of mistrust, losing self-worth and identity just for the likes and validation from strangers. You don't even know hashtag think about it, because what's going to happen is life's going to pass you by. Before it's too late, you would lift up your heads from being buried in the screens and think, what's happening? Hashtag Langliers. The music industry where I grew up in was more personal, from sound systems to pirate radio, which I've spoken about loads of times before in previous episodes, and Clubland, that was the physical side. And now, instead of meeting distribution companies for your promos, which I was happy to do back in those days, and known as a promo king as well, breaking new music whilst reasoning on the next big project or the next big thing, you just now receive an email. Okay, pause. Experiencing partying people's wants and needs for big tunes to be executed at the right times for me stems from house parties growing up. We seem to celebrate family members' birthdays or anniversaries on a much bigger scale back in the 80s and the 1990s. Getting prepared for a special occasion with dinner and dance was a big thing when you look back on it. Mum and dad buying drinks and stocking up on foods weeks before the event, which was in your own home or somebody else's venue. And as a kid, seeing all these treats stocked up with strict instructions not to touch or eat anything, as this was all for the party.
Mum, let me have that packet of crisp over there.
No, it's for the party.
Mum, I'm thirsty. Can I have that fizzy drink on there?
No, it's for the party.
Mum, I'm hungry. Can I have some sweets? Can I have the sweets on the table?
No, it's for the party, and you better not touch it.
Let me take you back.
From you wake up on a Saturday of the party, all hands were on deck, cleaning frantically and moving sofas out the way, placing all the good alcohol in the cupboard beside the makeshift bar, which was a table in front of the kitchen door, converting the front room into a dance floor, and of course, getting the sound system ready. Vitally important. My dad was a vinyl collector, so I always would get the best of the best lined up, ready to select for the dance later on. I could have been about 10 years old from that age, and just had that DJ selector gift for big anthems, knowing all the family members in different generations would be here tonight. Being part of a large West Indian family, we would expect half of the Caribbean islands and their friends under one roof tonight. closer. The anticipation is building. In the afternoon, the extra speaker boxes have arrived and there's excitement in the air. Whilst in the kitchen's the most amazing Caribbean smells of seasonings, with every pot bubbling up with flavour for the raver. The oven full to capacity while the oven trays of meat are lined up ready to go in next. Oh, and even more exciting, the foods, man. You can always count on stew chicken, mac and cheese, rice and peas, stew beef, curry chicken, roti, bus-up shirt, and all the trimmings of coleslaw and potato salad. Oh yeah, curry chana, curry goat. Man, I'm hungry now.
And what about sauce?
No, not for me. Meanwhile, in the front room, my cousins and friends are assisting one another in carrying in the speaker boxes and cables, which was being run round the walls by the trunk loads. On this occasion, I recall my cousin and them from Leytonstone sides had their own little sound. I think I recall it to be Sherelle Sound from East London. I used to watch my cousin selecting his records out of the box, and I used to watch him placing them in some sort of an order, just like I did with my dad's Calypso and Soca selection. He was someone I looked up to. His parents, my aunt and uncle, was super fair skinned, and with the mixture of Grenada and Montserrat, they had an original light skin tone. His name was Michael Jilks. A real ladies man, sweet guy, and even back then, some of them mans had the light skin privilege. But I've seen him in action, selecting big tunes for crowds in attendance, and he schooled me many times on how to select certain types of music for certain hours of a dance. He said to me one time, "Cuz, come and watch me." Whilst flicking through the records, "Now, you see this? After you play the early bounce of Calypso and Soca, then we'll take over, playing the reggae selection, soul and lovers, and then back into the Calypso again." He drew out some selection like Thriller You and said, "This will get the couples dancing together. And if you want to step it up a bit, drop some combinations like..."
Say you, I'm a stranger, but I feel as though I've known you.
And later on after that, it's grown folks' business. And you draw for some tunes like Kofi, Black Pride, them tune there. When you play the right selection, cuz, you will see the crowd's response, because the Caribbean community is the hardest people to please. And I've seen this happen before. I might play one wrong tune and the crowd will immediately stop and go to the bar or clear the dance floor for a food stop. So you had to drop hits upon hits and you had to be on point. And Cuz was not wrong. These selections of black-based music is what resonates with my spirit, and is the reason why to this day I select music that touches the soul rather than just play anything. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but those chats that we did have, it still sits within my spirit, and the specific genres of music and the artist always reminds me of Michael. Cuz, salute. Okay, focus back now. The night has drawn in. The family members start to arrive. Me and my brother's bunk bed turn into a cloakroom. The music is playing at a moderate level, often reggae to ease in the flavour. Then you see the family members from all the islands repping their countries, with loud conversations going on in every corner of the household on how their small island is better than yours, which could sound intimidating to others, but this was West Indian culture. We had my parents, half Trinidad and half Grenada, so I'm a Trinadian. We had the Jamaicans, we had Dominicans, Montserrat and more under one roof in harmony, until the certain uncle's friend that wasn't really invited drunk too much super tea and tried to interact with the dog while we was taking her to go toilet and bit his hand. Nah, we hey, come here, come here. No, leave it, no, we told you, leave it, no, don't touch the dog, man, brethren, alcohol is flowing. The rum punch is kicking in. My bed cannot be found. It's lost under a mountain of coats. Then someone says, "Hey, put some calypso on. Speed it up.
Drop some soca.
It's showtime." Dad would say, "Boys, change the music and deal." My brother Tony would start off with me, and he was more of the sound man from the early age and always wanted to start blasting the set straight away, while I would select the right songs required for the early bounce. You can't just jump into soca yet. You had to ease them in with some calypso grooves first.
She love how I'm moving my body when I sing.
And like I said, you had to get it right and be on point. These were my learning years on the ground, because if you got it wrong, they would say often things like, "The vibe was bubbling." Then my bro would often leave me to it, whilst he was hanging out with our older cousins and them. The party was in full mode. Even the neighbours, Mr. and Mrs. Greyer and the Dixons from down the road was in attendance. It was jam. Couples busting some serious wine with other members that wasn't their husband or wife. Food is filling my belly as I munch down on my second plate. Then it was big people time. These were the parts that I didn't understand. They called it tear down the wallpaper time. So I had to vacate my position and go upstairs. This was not for my eyes, it was for adults only.
Prettier than the whole world.
Then my cousins and them would take over. Me and my other cousins are peeping from the top of the stairwell, thinking, how come she's dancing with him? And why is he dancing with her? And why are they dancing like that? The vibe was intense. And what my cousin Mikey had told me about the selection was right. He was spot on. And it was happening right in front of me. They were slapping walls at one time, making beer noise. People playing dominoes in the back room, and all fours, cards, or rummy. All I could think about was hearing my favourite songs. I thought to myself, I need another plate. These were the early years for me, which taught me a lot as a rising DJ. Selection was a crucial part to play at the right time. In these late hours, whilst ordered to stay upstairs, I remember hearing a noise one time. It was coming from one of the bedrooms. Can you hear that? The music was loud from downstairs, but yet I heard this consistent banging noise coming from the bedroom with all the coats in. I walked over. I listened. What's that? Can you hear it? My cousins abandoned me and left me to it. But this was my house. This was my room. What was this consistent noise? Sounded like skin slapping. What is that? Who is that? I opened the door. To my amazement, I found... Oh, shame!